Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. My name is Malescu and I'm a Florida Bar Board certified attorney and owner of Malescu Law, a law firm based in Miami, Florida, specializing in business, corporate and US immigration. We can assist you with all your immigration needs regardless of where you are currently located or where you plan to go in the United States. Today we are going to speak about frequently asked questions about the E-3 visa renewal and extension process for Australian citizens. But before we get started, please subscribe to our channel by clicking the bell button or the subscribe button. As a reminder, the E-3 visa for Australian citizens is specifically designed for nationals of Australia to come and work in the United States in a specialty occupation, meaning an occupation that requires at least a bachelor's degree or its foreign equivalent. Basically, in simple terms, the E-3 visa is an H-1B visa but for Australian citizens and without a lottery. Now, there are 10,500 E-3 visas available each year, and the E-3 visa extensions are exempt from the annual cap of 10,500 visas as long as you continue to work for the same US employer. In other words, the E-3 visa extensions do not count against the annual cap as long as you continue to work for the same US employer that submitted the original labor condition application and offer of employment. There's no limit into how many times you can obtain an E-3 visa extension, and if you timely file your E-3 visa extension with USCIS, then you can obtain up to 240 days of additional employment authorization while your extension petition is pending the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. Now, you need to keep in mind that with every E-3 visa extension, you still need to maintain a non-immigrant intent to be in the United States. And now let's talk about the E-3 visa renewal process. So how do you extend your E-3 visa? As an E-3 visa holder, you can extend your E-3 visa up to 2 years at a time as long as you meet the eligibility requirements. You should plan together with your employer to initiate the renewal process approximately 6 months before your current E-3 visa expires. You need to note that each E-3 visa is issued for a maximum period of 2 years. In order to extend your E-3 visa beyond that point, your employer will need to file and obtain an approved labor condition application from the US Department of Labor. So with each E-3 visa extension, your employer will need to file a new labor condition application and obtain an approval before you can renew your E-3 visa. And this applies regardless of whether you are renewing your E-3 visa with the same employer or you are renewing the E-3 visa with a different employer and you are changing to a different employer. So basically, obtaining a new labor condition application approval from the US Department of Labor is a prerequisite for you to be able to renew your E-3 visa. Once your employer obtains an approved labor condition application from the US Department of Labor, you have 2 options to renew your E-3 visa. 1. File an E-3 visa extension with the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. So in this case, your US employer must file a petition on Form I-129 to extend your E-3 status while your current status is not expired and you are in the United States in valid status. If your employer files Form I-129 while you are in status in the United States, then you can obtain up to 240 days of additional work authorization while your petition is pending at the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. And this is automatically upon the filing of Form I-129. Now, you can also pay an additional USCIS fee for premium processing and obtain a decision on your E-3 extension within 15 business days. And two, the second option to renew your E-3 visa is to apply for a new E-3 visa at the US consulate abroad. In this case, you will have to apply at the US consulate abroad for an E-3 visa in order to renew your E-3 visa based on the new approved labor condition application. With the consulates in Australia, this typically will take up to 2 weeks to apply and obtain your passport with a new E-3 visa. So what is the better option for the E-3 visa renewal? Going to a US consulate abroad to renew your E-3 visa, or filing for an extension of E-3 with the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services? Well, this really depends on your particular circumstances, because if you are in valid E-3 status in the United States and you file an extension, then you can get it processed in 15 business days if you pay for an additional USCIS fee, or otherwise the regular processing times differ, but they typically range between 1 to 4 months, so there is some wait involved. However, you also obtain up to 240 days, additional days of work authorization, so you can continue working for your E-3 employer while your petition for E-3 extension is pending at the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. At the same time, the processing times at the US consulates abroad, and especially the US consulates in Australia, can be a much faster option in obtaining the E-3 visa. In Australia, typically you'll be able to get an appointment and your visa within 2 weeks. But of course, that also depends on the availability of appointments at the US consulate in Australia or any other US consulate you go for the E-3 visa. So the processing times can be faster at the US consulates in Australia as opposed to the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, but then you also have to take into consideration the cost of airfare for you and your dependent family members to travel to Australia to renew the E-3 visa, or if done at another US consulate abroad, the airfare to travel to that specific consulate and the accommodation in order for you to attend an interview and obtain the E-3 visa. And one other aspect with renewing the E-3 visa at the US consulate abroad, you also need to take into consideration any type of risk of delays due to administrative processing. So if the US consulate puts your case in administrative processing, then you will have to wait until that administrative processing is complete. So basically, these are the pros and the cons with doing an E-3 extension in the United States while in E-3 status versus going for an E-3 visa renewal at the US consulate in Australia or other US consulate abroad. And finally, let's discuss the E-3 visa renewal checklist. The documents necessary to obtain a E-3 visa renewal or extension are 1. Australian passport, 2. I-94 record, if applicable, 3. E-3 visa, 4. An approved labor condition application from the U.S. Department of Labor. 5. An employment letter from your U.S. employer. 6. Your bachelor's degree or its foreign equivalent and any other documents necessary to prove that you meet the requirements for the position, including your resume. And 7. Financial documents, whether this is the financial document of your U.S. employer or your personal records regarding being paid a salary while working under the E-3 visa status, such as bank records or pay stubs. This is all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to our channel, and if you need to get in touch with us, you have our contact information in this video and below this video. We will see you soon. Bye.